Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, hi,
Good.
Dustin.
How are you?
Great. How are you?
Good. I'm early, I guess.
Yeah, I think I am too.
That never happens.
But I'm glad to see that I got on here.
Yeah, good job. How you been? How was your Thanksgiving?
Hey, I had a really nice Thanksgiving.
That's good.
Yeah, it was really small, just a couple of my relatives that, we spend so much time together that we decided it's like we live under the same roof. So,
Yep.
how was your Thanksgiving?
It was the same. It was just our immediate family.
Uh-huh.
Just me, the wife, and the kids.
How many children do you have, Dustin?
3.
All right.
I've got 2 at Hillcrest, and then I've got a first grader.
Oh my gosh, 2 at Hillcrest.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you look so young to have kids in Hillcrest.
Yeah, no, I got a 18-year-old.
Oh my gosh.
Keeps me on my feet.
I bet it does. I bet it does. Yeah, I have, I don't have any children myself, but I have some godchildren that I'm really close to.
Oh, yeah.
And
Any?
they're almost like my kids.
Yeah. Any younger ones that still enjoy Christmas?
Oh, my goddaughter has twin girls. They're 3 years old.
Oh, that's a fun age.
Oh, they are just pistols. They are just pistols. In
3-year-old
fact,
twins.
oh yeah. In fact, one of the things that makes it really funny too, I think I've mentioned to you that I'm a hairstylist.
Mm-hmm.
And my goddaughter Gia called me one night and she says, Colleen, I've got a problem. And I says, what's that, honey? And she says, Gracie has cut Alice's hair.
Oh, no.
So I was teasing him and we got the hair all straightened up and everything. But I laughed and I says, we could be looking at the future hairdresser of America.
There you go. Practicing young.
Oh, yes.
All right. Hi, everyone.
Well,
Hello.
hi.
Hello.
How are
So,
you?
I'm good. Thank you.
Good.
So I was just informed, I was going to wait till Candy got on, but I was informed that she's not going to be here. So I apologize for the delay then. So let's go ahead and get started. It's 7:02 p.m. and I'd like to call this meeting of the Midvale City Planning Commission to order. I've been asked by Midvale City staff to read the following. This meeting will be an electronic meeting without a physical location pursuant to Utah Code 52-4-207 as amended by House Bill 5002. I, Chairman Zach Smallwood of the Midvale City Planning and Zoning Commission, hereby makes the determination that conducting the meeting with an anchor location presents a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present at the anchor location. This determination is based upon the fact that the city is unable to ensure compliance with the guidelines and public health protocols mandated by the state's current risk phase. As restrictions limiting public gatherings occur across the state, Midvale City wants to ensure everyone interested in participating in planning commission meetings can do so. Public comments are read into the record by city staff during the public hearings portion of the meeting. If you would like to make a public comment, please send an email to Alex Murphy at AMURPHY, that's A Murphy, at midvale.com. When commenting, please limit your comments to approximately 400 words. It's about the equivalent of 3 minutes. Include your first and last name. You may also include your city of residence if you'd like, that's just optional. And include the name of the agenda item so city staff know when you want your public comment to be read into the record. City staff will read into the record the equivalent of 3 minutes. Your input is really important to us. So please keep your comments concise. Goodness. So with that, Kate, could you take a roll, please?
I can, yes. Chair Smallwood. Vice Chair Tippett.
It's not here.
Yep. Commissioner Costello.
Here?
Commissioner Anderson.
Here.
Commissioner Snow.
Here.
Commissioner Erickson.
Here.
And Commissioner Benson.
Here.
Great. Thank you so much for doing that. Sorry, just writing up notes. So to keep the meeting as orderly as possible, I ask that everyone in the Zoom meeting mute themselves when not speaking. This makes it easier for everyone to hear and to transcribe the meeting in preparation of the minutes. I'd also ask that the applicant state their name for the record before speaking or answering a question. For this meeting, the process for the public hearing portions of, or public, let's try that again. For this meeting, process for the public hearing items shall proceed as follows. I will introduce the item followed by a presentation by staff. The attorney's office will provide some information on the Planning Commission's role for the item. The applicant will be allowed an opportunity to present any additional information and speak to the item. I will then open the public hearing, and that's when we'll take public comment. After we've received public comment, we will close after a motion by the commission. The commission will then have an opportunity for additional discussion or comments. I will then ask for commission action, a vote will be taken, and then a decision rendered. So again, I will just jump right in here to agenda item number 1, which is Charles Hammond requesting conditional use permit and site plan approval for Copper Flats, a 37-unit multifamily housing project at the property located at 8018 South Main Street. And this is being represented by Mr. Jason Binks tonight. And so you can take it away.
All right. Good evening. Happy holidays, commissioners.
Hey, Jason, 1 second.
Okay.
Garrett, did you want to chime in on this one before Jason dives in?
Sure. So this is a conditional use permit. Like we discussed the last couple of weeks, we're just looking at making sure all of the requirements are being met under our statute. And if there are any issues, we're looking first to mitigate those issues and go from there.
Okay. Thanks, Garrett. I'm Jason. Happy holidays, everybody. I am growing my Christmas beard, and the more gray it gets, the worse my eyes get. So I don't know what the relationship is there, but let's get into this 37-unit multifamily residential development. Here, we're looking for a conditional use permit and a preliminary site plan approval tonight. It's down on Main Street, 8018 South Main Street. The property is owned by Copper Flats LC, and it's being represented tonight by Charles Hammond, and he's invited a couple colleagues. And we did notice this to 40 property owners within 300 feet of this development, and we do have a comment, one comment, and Kate will read that a little bit later. Here's the vicinity map. The square box, the blue box there is the property. It's one parcel, 1.5 acres. It was consolidated earlier this year. It was 2 parcels, but it was consolidated in anticipation of a development like this. Currently, there's 2 existing single-family homes on the property that will be removed, and then the structure will be developed. This is along Main Street there, just to the east of that blue box is Main Street, and this is in the Main Street Old Town Opportunity area. And this area is designated as an opportunity area for this type of future development. Here's a street view from Main Street. We're looking southwest onto the property. You have Jordan Bluffs there in the distance to the south. Those are the two houses that will be removed. To your left is a single family residential zone. And then to your right and the west of this property is also RM25, which is the same as this property here. So you have a collection of different zones in that area. Let's look at the site plan. So the orientation here, the top of the slide is north. So the proposed apartment building is right there at the north with a 68 parking stall parking lot to the south with one drive access onto Main Street. All the parking does meet requirements at 68. As you see from that picture there, it's a single story structure. It's 3-story structure, but a single structure. And it's got 37 units. There's a pedestrian network that connects the structure with the parking lot, the structure and the parking lot with several different amenity areas. I believe there's a pavilion, cornhole, fire pit, dog park, a hammock park. And based on this orientation and location, it does meet setback requirements. It is the appropriate bulk and scale along this opportunity and adjacent to these different zones. At this point, the city engineer didn't think that it needed a traffic study based on the volume and the vehicle maneuvering distances from other intersections. So didn't need a traffic study for this. At first, the developer proposed the building on the south and the parking to the north. The city engineer asked to reverse that. The developer did that, and it's a little bit better for traffic. Incidentally, the city is going to do a study for the intersection of Main and Wasatch, which, if you can see my cursor, is right in here. And that's to identify, future issues. But right now, didn't require a traffic study. Here's a floor plan. It's 3 stories. Here's the first 2. The third story is just a reproduction of the second. As you see, there's a hallway system, and then there's a variety of different housing options. There's 12 studios. There are 19 one-bedroom options, and then there are 6 two-bedroom options in this structure. Here's the elevations. So the elevations meet height, facade requirements, materials requirements. There are proposed 49 parking spaces that are going to be covered, and there was some discussion with the fire marshal on how a vehicle would access this building, and those have been resolved to the fire marshal's satisfaction. So there's going to be covered parking and access to this building. There's a couple of good renderings they gave us, kind of a 3D, so you can get the feel of this property. That's a south elevation, but it is looking north, and then the east elevation looking west. So this development meets general plan requirements. It also meets the 2019 housing element requirements, which desires to provide a lot of different housing options in these locations. And then the staff feels like this adds, appropriate density for this area and for neighborhoods of opportunities. Here's a nice colored landscape plan. So it meets the street tree requirements along Main Street. You see that it does have parking lot perimeter landscaping. It has parking island landscaping, and then a variety of other landscaping throughout those amenity areas, and to provide the best shade and recreation opportunities for the residents there. Just a note to the north, because the north is single family and this is a residential multifamily, they're allowed to have an 8-foot fence. So there's one to the north, and then to the south is Jordan Bluffs, and they will put in an 8-foot fence to the south. Right now, the plans show an 8-foot fence to the west, but only a 7-foot's allowed unless the developer can show a clear and compelling security reason why it should be higher. So we're just asking that they have a 7-foot fence on the west, but otherwise the landscaping all meets requirements. I wanted to show this real quick. This is something new, something planners wanted to propose or show you, the commission. It's just a breakdown of all the requirements and how they meet it. We're not going to provide this for every development, but for a development of this complexity, we're going to offer you different areas where it does meet. We're hoping that this provides a little bit more granularity and a little more transparency to the commissioners, to the developer, to the public, and then for future staff when we have to go back and look at the numbers we actually used. It also shortens these reports by about 2 pages. Otherwise, we would have to put this in paragraph form. Here, we're just putting it in a table. So if it meets, it meets, that's clear. And then we can dedicate the paragraphs to anything that perhaps doesn't meet or that we want to call out. So if you like this, we'll continue to do it, but that's new in your staff reports. So then for the conditional use permit and preliminary site plan, here are the recommended conditions. They're pretty standard, that they prepare a final site plan that meets, requirements of city engineer, fire marshal, change the fence along the west, submit a lighting plan that meets the requirements. They already have provided a lot of that, but just refine it and submit the final landscape documentation, obviously, and then all requirements to meet building official. So then our recommended motion to you tonight, commissioners, is that you approve this request for a conditional use permit and preliminary site plan. I haven't seen if Charles is with us, but Kate does have one public comment.
So the architect for this project has been emailing me saying he got kicked out of the meeting and hasn't been able to join back in. So
Okay.
I'm trying to work with him and our IT folks to get them back in. So
That's fine. We can come back to him when he's able to reconnect. Thank you, Jason. I appreciate the report on that.
Yes.
I do want to say that I really liked that you stated how many notices went out. I think that was really, really great and really helpful. So thank you for doing that. That was great.
You're welcome.
Any questions for staff at this point?
No, I have none.
Okay. All right. I don't see Robin or Dustin shaking their head, so I'll assume their silence means no. Okay. So what we'll do then, while they're working on getting the architect back into the meeting, is that we'll just go ahead and open this up for the public comment portion. So I need to read this little thing. This is the portion of the agenda that allows any person to express ideas, concerns, comments, or issues. If you would like to comment on a public hearing item, you will be allotted time during this portion of the meeting. Please email your comments to Alex Murphy at amurphy@midvale.com. We will not be taking public comments on the Facebook or YouTube feeds. When commenting, please limit your comments to approximately 400 words, which is about 3 minutes. Include your first and last name. Also, if you'd like, you can include your city of residence. This is optional. And also include the name of the agenda item. So city staff will only read into the record the equivalent of 3 minutes, so please be concise with your statements. So with that, it sounds like Kate has at least one right now, so we'll go ahead and take that.
Okay, this comment is from Lynette Phillips. She stated, I live at 731 Wasatch Street. My backyard is identified on the proposed site plan for Copper Flats as having a 3-story apartment building directly behind my property. Both my yard and the adjoining property on 700 West Main Street would have multiple apartments looking directly into our private, secluded single-family backyards. I would respectfully request a full screen of mature evergreen trees, caliper 3 to 4 feet plus, be planted along the wall for the 2 properties directly within line of sight of the proposed apartments, 2 properties furthest to the east. Current proposal shows 2 smaller 2 foot caliper evergreens and multiple deciduous trees in a hammock and barbecue area. This plan does not provide adequate privacy to the affected properties. Request these trees be replaced with the larger evergreen trees with the exception of the London plane near the dog park as it is not within the line of sight. Additionally, every impacted property on Wasatch Street has pets and most homeowners work during the day. Request advanced communications and pet containment temporary fencing be provided when existing fencing is removed, precast while installed. Also request the removal/replacement process be expedited to prevent pet loss or harm. Thank you, Lynette Phillips.
Great, thank you for that. Alex, have we had any others come in yet?
I haven't received anything yet, and it looks like our IT department's still working to get the applicant admitted back in here. So
Okay. We can give it a minute or two.
it might take longer than a minute.
Oh,
Hey, Alex, I think the applicant did invite a few other people, and I do see a name, Lou Aaron Foster might be part of his party.
Yeah.
No, she's in mine.
Is she?
yes, I believe she is with Jana.
Okay. So perhaps what we ought to do here is we can leave the public hearing open for a minute, and then I don't know the best way to do this, but postpone a decision on it until we can get the applicants back in and move forward with the agenda in the meantime.
Okay. So
Can the Mr. or Mrs. Foster answer the questions for the applicant? I see that there's a Foster.
Foster is for the next project.
Oh, is it? Oh, sorry. Okay.
So Alex, would we just potentially just table this for until the applicant's able to rejoin? Is that how we would do it?
Garrett, do you have a recommendation for the best way to handle this scenario in that case?
Yeah, I would just do a motion to table since it requires you to give a definitive time. So just say that you're tabling it and you'll pick it back up after the next agenda item. But you may also, depending on what you want to do, you may also want to close the public hearing at this point and possibly reopen it at later as well.
Okay. Then,
Well, would it be worth leaving that public hearing open during this one so we can continue to receive comments if anybody watching would like to submit them? Or does that matter in this case since we're reading them into the record?
I don't know if it really matters other than it just makes it a little bit cleaner minutes wise so that there's not any pressure to be accepting comments per se for this project in the next item.
Ah, yes. Good point.
okay. Then what I would do is entertain a motion to close the public hearing portion of this item.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I second it.
Okay, it's been moved by Colleen and seconded by Robin. Kate, will you take a vote, please?
Yes. Commissioner Costello,
Yes,
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Snow,
Yes.
and Commissioner Erickson.
Yes.
Great, that passes unanimously. So the public hearing portion of this item for this time is closed. So now I would entertain a motion to table this item until we get until who knows when.
You could say until after the next item.
Yes, until after the next agenda item. Thank you very much. I
Can we
apologize.
just make a motion to table it until the applicant is online? I mean, that covers us and it doesn't limit our time, just until he's back online and we can address it. Does that
So
work?
This is Eric Tuttle. I've just been able to join using my cell phone on a different Zoom account.
Oh.
So I'm here.
Never mind.
Perfect. Never mind. Okay. So never mind. I don't want any motions. So do I need to reopen the public hearing then? Now I've just confused everything.
We don't
Have
have
we
any more,
received anything?
we have not received any more comments.
Okay. Well, then I think as long as Garrett has no objections, I think we'll just keep it closed.
And I think you're totally good. I think you can, that's going to be up to your discretion, whether
Okay.
anything new comes up during the applicant's presentation that makes it worthwhile to reopen.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you for that. So, perfect. So do any of the commissioners, or actually, let me ask real quick. Mr. Tuttle, have you had a chance to review the staff report and the conditions that are laid out there?
Yes, yes.
All right. And do you, will you be able to comply with those conditions?
Yes.
Okay. Then I will open it up. Are there any questions for the applicant from the Planning Commission staff? Or, well, from the Planning Commission?
Again, I have nothing that I'm questioning. I like that, the plan about having everything written out so we know. Yes, the development
Yes.
standard. I really like that idea.
Me too. Mr. Tuttle, is there anything else that you'd like to add to the presentation that was?
So I heard just little snippets. I was going in and out, but I did hear a comment of a residential neighbor being concerned about being so close to their windows. We did move the building. It's not even close to the setback. So, you know, according to the ordinance, we can move the building quite a bit closer. But the driveway needed to be located exactly where the driveway is to be the right distance from the intersection. And so we're kind of limited on that. But we did move the building as far south as we possibly could to get it away from the neighbors and put in as much landscaping and fencing and buffer as we could. Were there other items that I missed, other concerns that have been brought up that we could talk about?
There was only one comment, and one of the things that she did mention were the installation of some evergreen trees as opposed to deciduous trees along that, I believe, the north boundary line there. I would encourage you to possibly look at that. What you've proposed, I think, looks great. It looks fine, but maybe as kind of a gesture there to maybe look at putting in some evergreen trees there. I think that would help alleviate some of the privacy type concerns that she had. The last item she mentioned was about the fence, and that you reach out to them prior to installing any fence, so that because they do have pets, a lot of those people have pets in their backyards, and so working with them to make sure that you're letting them know when you plan on installing the new fence.
Sure. Yeah, that's being a good neighbor. We
Yeah.
can do that.
Other than that, I don't think there was anything else that, and commissioners, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think there were any other. I think those were the main comments. Okay,
Great.
great, thank you. All right, so so now we're kind of on to discussion, or I would entertain a motion. It seems pretty straightforward. Looks like a good project. I like the scale of it, to be honest. So it's smaller scale than some of the things we've seen at like Jordan Bluffs and stuff. So I like this project a lot. I'm really excited for it.
Well, I'll make a motion. Oh, I'm sorry. Was there somebody else? Okay. I move that we approve the request for a conditional use permit and preliminary site plan for a 37-unit multifamily residential project at 8018 South Main Street and adopt the conditions of approval presented in the staff report.
This is
Perfect.
Robin, I second it.
Okay, it's been moved by Ms. Costello and seconded by Ms. Anderson. If we could get a roll call vote, please, Kate.
Yes, Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Snow,
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson,
Yes.
Commissioner Costello.
Yes.
Great, that passes unanimously. Thank you. And thanks for understanding with the little technical glitch there. We look forward to seeing your project come forward. So thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, have a good night.
Take care.
All right, so we will move right along to a thing that I don't have. Oh, there we go. So this is the second agenda item. Llewellyn Foster and Midvale City staff requesting a text amendment modifying impervious surface and building heights in the RM12, RM25, 7200 South, RC, and CI zones. And I believe Jana will be speaking to this item. So when you're ready, Jana, take it away.
All right. The zoning ordinance text amendment, like you just said, is a modification to impervious surfaces in 5 different zones and a modification to a table about building heights. So, well, actually, Llewellyn Foster is a representative from Raising Cane's restaurant that is getting ready to submit a site plan for the corner of 900 East and Fort Union, where the Hoppers restaurant is. This is in the preliminary stages. They have not submitted their preliminary site plan for staff review yet. This is kind of one of the first steps. And the ordinance limits impervious material to 15% of the front yard in the regional commercial zone. As the RM12, RM25, 7200 South overlay, and the clean industrial zones contain similar language regarding impervious surface coverage, staff recommends extending this request to include those zones as well. Staff has also identified that the tables of RM12 and RM25 were not updated with a previous zone text amendment approval in May of last year. We approved to change the building heights, but the tables associated with the same ordinance were not changed. So I'll go ahead and start with the RC and CI clean industrial zone change for the front yard impervious surface, which is impervious surface shall cover no more than 15% of the front yard. And that's the same for both of those zones. Both zones are intended to allow a wide variety of uses and utilize landscape buffers and other requirements to mitigate potential impacts on neighboring properties. And past ordinances in the RC zone once allowed parking lots and drive-throughs in the front yards. And based on current code, however, parking lots and drive-throughs are not allowed in the front yard. This is an example of a preliminary idea for the site plan at the corner of 900 East and Fort Union. And with the front yard defined as the area between the front of the closest building and the front lot line, extending the full width of the lot, you see this red hatched area is all front yard by that definition. This is North Union. So this property has 3 front yards and also has a maximum impervious surface of 15% in this entire area. We're proposing a change to just change the wording to 15% of the front yard setback. So this image shows, which is a required 15-foot landscape buffer, language is already there. And a couple more examples. These are the same general area. This is just west of that property I just showed, shares a parking lot. This is actually their parking of the last picture. And they also have 3 front yards, and they could basically do not have another yard. So that would say 15% of their entire lot could be impervious surface. This is the southeast corner, just across 9th East, where this is like an older, this was built when the ordinance allowed for front yard parking. This is really common. You're going to see it all the way through the shops area. And then the third one is the northeast corner of that same intersection. So if you consider, even when a building is put to the build to line and we're designing in this way, that just the driveway alone is more than 15% impervious surface in that front yard. So this comes up in clean industrial, where they do have a build to line. This is I'm not sure when, but developed under this code. And just to put their driveway, they end up with 28% impervious surface in the front yard. And this is a good design. They have a nice landscape. It's a newer building, and that was what could be done. This is another property that has been for sale for years. It's very difficult to develop narrow properties, and this is one of the barriers to that. And then for RM25, RM12, RM25, 7200 South, it's similar language for the backyard impervious surface. So for RM12 and RM25, it's 25 or 40% of the rear yard may be impervious surface. 7200 South is 30%. And the definition is the same as the area between the rear line of the closest building and the rear lot line, extending the full width of the lot. So this, just in the last proposal you just saw, they had to rework that design a little bit to meet that criteria for 40% in the rear yard, when the zoning ordinance also requires a front build to line setbacks for landscape. So really there's a contradiction there, where we're asking there can't be parking in the front yard, but there also can only be this certain amount of parking in the backyard. So it's just caused some problems over time in all of these zones. And this is another apartment complex, looks just like the one you just saw. This is a 48 unit apartment building under construction that received a variance for this exact thing. The 40% of the rear yard, because of the shape of the lot and the slope of the lot, as much as anything else, is why they were able to get the variance. But it was definitely not going to be a buildable lot without it. So, and then I'm just going to pull up, give me just a second, the other tables. I'm just going to pull up the ordinances that you have in your staff report. All right, so then this ordinance was passed in May of 2019, and most of you were here for that discussion. We basically eliminated the language of the height, and we just kept it from 1 to 3 stories or 1 to 4 stories, and being just more straightforward with the height language in those zones. And we did not update the tables. So we updated the impervious surface language in these tables. This is RM12. And then we went ahead and took that wording that we had eliminated in the text and just fixed that oversight there. And the same for RM25. The tables have extra building height text amendments. All right, are there any questions from everyone?
Any questions for Jana at this point?
No, I have none.
All right. Thank you, Jenna. I appreciate that. That's very informative. I thank you.
Mhm.
So I know that the city is part applicant. Llewellyn, I would ask, have you had a chance to look over the staff report, and do you have anything else you'd like to add to that? Or
I have, and I do not. I would, our team is also here, architect. If we could ask the same question of her.
yeah, Marissa, have you had a chance to look over it and have any questions or comments or anything you'd like to add?
I do hope that we do get the support to have the text amendment. It would definitely make our proposed project doable at this point. As Jana put together that example, our limitations are quite limited with the verbiage that it is now. So we are definitely looking for the Planning Commission's support.
Great. Commission, do you have any questions for either the applicant or? Okay. Perfect. Then with that, I will just go ahead and open the public comment portion of this item. This is the portion of the agenda that allows any person to express that. Oh, just kidding. Hold on one second. I'm not going to open these things up yet. Garrett, if you will speak to this item first.
Yeah, so this is a legislative act, which means you guys have a lot of discretion in being able to make this decision. If there's things you'd like to see different or other adjustments, this would be the good time to help workshop with the applicants and the city to make sure that you're getting the product that you want.
Great. Any questions for Garrett?
Yeah, this is Snow. Could we make this a conditional use permit rather than an amendment?
What do you mean?
Like a as per project instead of changing everything as a whole?
Since this is a legislative decision, you can make that recommendation to adjust the language. So if you want to adopt something with those and make it a conditional use permit, you can make that recommendation, and then that will ultimately be up to the city council whether or not to accept that recommendation. If you do go that direction, if you're thinking of going that direction, one of the things to keep in mind with conditional use permits is that we have to have specific articulable conditions that people have to be able to meet in order for this to apply. So if we don't have those conditions in mind, we'll need to work through that, so that way applicants can know whether or not they meet those conditions and they're entitled to that or they're not.
Okay.
This
Did
is
that answer your
Robin.
question? Oh, go ahead.
Is this gonna, I think our concern is, is it gonna, we do this wide stroke, is it gonna come back and bite us somewhere else? Does that make sense, Garrett?
It absolutely does. I think the best people to answer questions related to those concerns are probably Alex, Jana, and Jason. Since I can't tell you the planning implications of what that would look like, but as Jana was showing you examples of what it looks like under the current situation, Obviously, something needs to change where we can't even have
Okay.
people getting access driveways into businesses under our existing code. And they can probably help play with some of those ideas of what is that right balance.
Okay.
So Alex, maybe you could guide us then? Or Jana?
Well, do you have any specific questions or? So like, I know like this one, it's like not your typical, not everybody has 3 front yards, right?
Mhm.
But even if it didn't have the 3rd front yard, it's quite a bit of space compared to, like I said, even if our regional commercial does not have a build to line. But even if it's designed in this nice way with this building up on the street, and if you're opposed to parking in the front yard or something, you're still having this driveway issue. So
So by doing this, it'd eliminate that problem, right?
right.
Yeah,
And
is
I
that-
don't think it still doesn't really allow for like, it does allow for like this, it does allow for scenario 2, it does, but you have a 15-foot setback. And if you want to, in the future, some of the things that you could use to change that design is a build to line, like Clean Industrial has that build to line. So those buildings will always be at the street and parking in the back. This could be changed to include a build to line but for the most part, the landscape buffers will be there. You'll see mostly what you see now.
Okay.
Yeah, I would add, we do maintain that 15-foot landscape setback along all public and I think all streets adjacent to these projects. Plus, there's a maximum width on the driveways. So even if someone says, I'm going to pave as much of my landscape setback as I can, they're still capped based on that driveway width maximum.
Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah.
And then there are other access management requirements that come into play there too, like separation of driveways from corners and things that will further limit how those can be designed. On the rear yard side, Jana mentioned that we have other provisions in the ordinance that push us to promote rear yard parking lots. So it's kind of strange that we have this restriction on the amount of impervious surface we can put in the rear yard. Even in that zone, we have those rear setbacks and side setbacks and landscape requirements in and around parking lots that will minimize the impact they can have on adjacent owners. And in both the front and the rear yard setback scenarios we're talking about here, it's pretty consistent with what was built in the city before the current ordinance was in place. The examples Jana showed were from areas that were developed before the city annexed that part of the city. And you've even seen, we have seen development since then where they've made minor modifications but still have that parking in the front yard or something, where this provision wouldn't work if it were applied to every development, every project, every time. So we definitely recommend making that change because it'll help some of these areas redevelop in a better fashion than we've seen.
Yeah.
Great, thank you guys for clarifying that.
Yeah, that helped out a lot.
Good. All right, so if there are no objections, I will go ahead and open up the public comment portion of this meeting. This is the portion of the agenda that allows any person to express ideas, concerns, comments, or issues. If you would like to comment on a public hearing item, you will be allotted time during this portion of the meeting. Please email your comments to Alex Murphy at amurphy@midvale.com. We will not be taking public comment on the Facebook or YouTube feeds. When commenting, please limit your comments to approximately 400 words, which is about the equivalent of 3 minutes. Include your first and last name. You may also include your city of residence if you'd like, and also include the name of the agenda item. City staff will only read into the record the equivalent of 3 minutes, So please be concise with your statements. So have we received any prior to the meeting, Jana or Kate?
No.
Okay. Then we will give it a minute or two and see if something comes along here. While we wait, how was everyone's Thanksgiving?
Great. Great. How was yours?
Pretty good. Jason and I did our very own thing for the first time ever. So
Oh, hey. Cooked a turkey and everything?
yeah, it was weird. So I had never done it before, so it was a little weird doing it. So
I think that's great.
yeah, it was kind of fun. All right.
I just want to make it clear that Chair Smallwood's Jason is not the same Jason that's attending this meeting.
Oh, yes, no. Jason Binks and I did not make Thanksgiving dinner together. I apologize. My husband's name is Jason.
I would be amenable to cooking a turkey with you then.
Hey, there you go.
Well, I think we better all come to this dinner.
Exactly. This kitchen got used for the 10th time this year. So.
All right. That's one thing about the pandemic. We certainly have done a lot more cooking at home. At least I have,
Yeah.
and trying new things.
Yep, for sure.
Of course, there's just me, but I still, I still try all this stuff.
Yep. Hey, whatever you can do.
That's right. So
All
after
right.
the pandemic, we'll have to get together and try all our new recipes out.
Yes. I'll make a Thanksgiving dinner in the middle of July, whenever we can.
Okay. I'll bring pasta.
Perfect. All right. Have we received any other comments?
I have not received any, no.
Okay, perfect. Then I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing portion of this item.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
All right, it's been moved to close the public hearing.
A second?
All right, Candace, Ms. Erickson seconded the motion. Kate, if you'll take a roll call, please.
Yes. Commissioner Snow,
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson,
Yes.
Commissioner Costello,
Yes.
and Commissioner Anderson.
Yes.
Great. So the public hearing portion of this item is closed. So we'll bring it back up here for discussion or a motion.
So this is Candace. My only concern is that it might, the concrete jungle is kind of what we're trying to avoid, it sounds like. And I think we were kind of shown extremes by Jenna of the proposal that's probably down the line and coming up on 9th East and 7200. But it seems very reasonable for a lot of our narrow lots that are having a hard time being developed because they can't meet the requirements. So that makes perfect sense. I would just be concerned if not that it would be abused. I know I'm kind of the, the sky is falling commissioner, but I just would hate that it get abused and that there be an excess of impervious when there doesn't need to be. Like, just because you can doesn't mean you should. That's my own concern.
That's why I was wondering if we could do some kind of case by case.
I can see both sides. I tried not to look too much into this because of what happened with the fence thing. I thought I was being crazy, and then I wasn't. So I just don't know how much of it would necessarily get abused either. But at the same time, I don't know. It's kind of hard to look at it and think about, apply it to like a conditional use. Because then we would need to kind of implement, we would need to have staff, or we would need to implement varying degrees, at what point does such level kick in? And I think that would be pretty onerous on staff, but I don't know, what do you guys think?
Well, and I like to be business friendly. And, in a lot of cases, I think, we want to be business friendly of people coming in and wanting to put businesses in. So we kind of, would like to help them as well. And insofar too, is that we are recommending this. We're sending the recommendation to the city council. So they will have the final say on that. So, those are two things. But like I say, I want to be business friendly, but yet, and when businesses come in, they know what rules that they have to go by, our ordinances and the things that are in place in Midvale City.
What if we changed the wording on the front yard, backyard, so that we didn't have that 3 sides of yardage problem? Would that help?
I think that would actually create more harm than good, because we have other requirements that are based on front yard orientation that are accomplishing their goals. Things like the Bill 2 lines that Jana mentioned, restrictions on parking in front yards and such. So if it's another option that the commission might want to consider is recommending this, making up that positive recommendation that the staff has recommended to the commission, and then calling us back for a report on what's happened in 6 or 12 months from now, so we can see if it is an issue that needs to be readdressed.
I don't see. I think that could be good. Maybe in about a year we can have it re-looked at to see how it's played. I would feel comfortable with that. How does the commissioners feel?
Yeah, I would be comfortable with that.
I like that because it's a precautionary to have a question now, but to see if it actually affects anything is a whole nother deal. And so it seems judicious to at least put it out there and then circle back.
I'll put it on my list for a future meeting agenda.
Sweet. Robin, I see you're unmuted. Did you want to?
I was just thinking, I just don't know that there'd be that much abuse for something like this. And like Colleen said, we want the business, we want hoppers. If that's going to make that look better, that corner and other places, and easier. This whole area up here, I live right here by the shops at Union, and it's a mess to get in and park and out. And if this, maybe it is better to have something in place that makes it easier for us to get in and out, and everybody else, because it really is a cluster mess up here. I almost said a bad word just then. But pardon me, it went in my head. But it's such a mess that I think anything we can do to alleviate that and make it easy to get in and out, I think that's great. I just don't, I was worried, are we going to abuse it somewhere down the line? And then I think, I don't know how you would, really.
Yeah.
It has to come to us anyway.
Yeah, so I think we're okay.
Yeah.
That's a good point, Robin. That's a good point, Robin and Colleen.
I agree. And I do think having it come forward in about a year just to see, because we're not all knowing, so we don't know, of any, potential. Yeah. We don't know what could happen in a year. So Great. So with that, I would entertain a motion or further discussion.
What do you mean a motion for further discussion?
Sorry, a motion or further discussion.
I move that
Sorry.
we forward a recommendation to the city council to approve the amendments to the RM-12, RM-25, 7200 South Overlay RC and CI zones as presented in the staff report.
I
Great.
second.
Perfect. It's been moved by Robin and seconded by Candace to forward a recommendation of approval to the city council. Kate, if you will take a roll call vote, please.
Yes. Commissioner Erickson,
Yes.
Commissioner Costello,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
and Commissioner Snow.
Yes.
Great, that passes unanimously. So we'll go ahead and forward that on to the city council and Ms. Foster. I don't want to butcher your last name, but I think it's Ms. Mua. Yeah, something like that. And Mr. Bick, just work with Jana on getting scheduled with the city council.
Wonderful. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
very much.
Thanks. Have a good night.
You too.
All right. With that, we will move on to agenda item number 3, which is an action item. It's Lindsay Bishop with First Construction requesting a reduction in the residential landscape buffer along the western property line at the property located at 6820 South, 900 East. And this, I believe, is Jana again.
Mhm.
Take it away when you're ready.
All right. So the applicant's requesting a reduction in the residential landscape along this western border. This is a single family residential zone. The 2 parcels here are owned by the same property owner. And the site plan, again, is a preliminary. They have not submitted, and that site plan will be reviewed by staff. So this is a requirement of the zoning ordinance that new development provide a landscape buffer to separate residential uses from non-residential uses. The standard requirement for the buffer is 30 feet, and it's intended to provide adequate screening, buffering, and separations of these uses. In circumstances where the 30-foot buffer is not practical, the ordinance allows the Planning Commission to reduce the requirement, provided they determine that screening is necessary to protect abutting uses, landscape is not practical, and a fully site obscuring fence constructed of wood, metal, bricks, masonry, or other permanent materials is provided. So the applicant has proposed a landscape buffer ranging from 9 to 5 feet on this here, and with trees and shrubs, and then a proposed 8-foot CMU wall. So the office is general office, which is a permitted use in the RC zone. And like I said, the site plan will be reviewed by staff in the near future. And we have our development review committee meeting. So the city engineer has already asked that this line up, which is part of kind of pushing over to that edge of the property. They'll also have another constraint here where they have to preserve a right of way for Normandy Way, which is just a dirt road right there. You have any questions about the project? Just kind of very preliminary, but I can answer questions if you have them.
Any questions for Jana?
No.
So I apologize. I didn't get a chance to fully review the staff report, but is this reduction in the landscaping buffer, is it to provide adequate parking access, or what's the request? Why is she requesting it?
Well, one thing I can say, because we can ask the applicant a couple questions too, but one thing sometimes in these, this is not from this property owner, but sometimes a wall is just a better barrier between the uses. And it actually is a firm barrier, so that I personally would prefer a wall to 30 feet of landscape and no wall at all. A wall is not a requirement of the zone. So
Sure.
it's a way, it's kind of give and take. So they build this significant wall and they get less land used for landscaping.
Thank you. Excuse me. And is the applicant here?
Our IT folks are telling me the applicant has not joined this one.
Okay.
Okay, let me check my email.
So while she's checking that, the commission, do you guys, how are you guys feeling about that kind of landscape reduction?
If there's a fence, I think it's great
Yeah,
for the neighbors.
yeah.
I mean,
I agree that if the fence
Jana's
is,
right. Nobody wants 30 feet of lawn, and that's your only barrier.
For sure.
and I wish the applicant were here.
Where exactly is this? Help me with this. I can't.
Oh yeah, 900 East in Bordeaux. It's a vacant parcel right now. So
In relation to the Maverick and the ballpark, and is that what I'm looking at?
No,
No, way
no,
north,
really north, like up closer to the
RC Willie.
I-215.
Oh, okay. I got you now. I'm thinking.
I just
wait a
worry what
minute.
it's gonna do to the lot to the west if we put a wall up.
I think input from that property owner would be ideal.
Yeah.
If we knew their preference, I think it could make a big difference. If they're cool with a wall, like Jana was saying, then yeah.
yeah.
Hey, Alex, does that make that lot an unbuildable lot?
Nope. Whatever you approve on this lot won't have an effect on what they can do on the lot next door.
Okay.
I actually did the PUD to the west, and I was under the assumption that the bank owned all of that.
So America First owned or may continue to own just the piece that you're seeing here. They didn't own any of that field. That's the field and the house to the south of it are owned by the same individual or family. And the other thing I'll mention for this one is this request is not a public hearing, so it doesn't get noticed, and the neighbor hasn't been invited to comment on the request. I'm not sure if the applicant reached out to them or not, but we wouldn't have any other way of getting their input.
Yeah.
This is fairly typical. We see these types of requests come in several times a year at this point.
Yeah. And then also, sorry, Alex, I realized I didn't ask Garrett kind of give his explanation on this one for us. So I apologize, Garrett.
No apology needed. So this is an administrative action. It requires you to find two things. So if you find that the landscaping is insufficient and that the properties would be, that the landscaping is not sufficient to screen this proposed project from the adjacent uses, then it mandates that you require them to install this screening fence between those properties. So those are the two things you need to find. Is the landscaping insufficient to protect the adjoining properties? And would this essentially, would this wall or this fence be better to provide that protection?
Awesome. Thank you very much for that.
Jason, Zachary, did the applicant know that they were supposed to be at this meeting or participate in this?
That's a great question for Jana.
Yes. Yeah.
Jana?
Yes, definitely they knew.
They did get an invite to the meeting.
Okay, I was gonna double check that because they did get a bounce back, like they had the wrong email. So I was making sure that that got confirmed.
It looks like there might be a typo in the message you gave to IT for the invite.
In the Excel spreadsheet there was,
Yeah.
but then I imagined that they got it since they never asked again.
Anna, can you send me the email so I can just forward the invite right now?
Yep, I'm sending it in Teams.
It seems like if we do this, it looks like coming in off of Bordeaux for the drive, that it makes it easier to use that driveway if we make that smaller. Does that look like that to you guys too? That it would be easier to get in and out right there? Maybe?
Yeah, it lines up the other
Yeah.
intersection there. So I think it would be cleaner for
Mhm.
sure.
But you know, I would still like to see the applicant.
Yeah.
So
Can we table this?
we
No,
can.
I was thinking this same thing. If we could table it till we can have the applicant in
Right.
to
Right.
answer questions. Yeah, yeah,
Right.
Rob, I feel that way too.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, then I would just need a motion from one of the commissioners to, because this is not a public hearing item, I would just need a motion to table the item until, I believe we would need to do it. I guess it doesn't get noticed in either way. So do we need to have a date certain, Garrett or Alex? Or just when the applicant is available?
I think the bylaws require some sort of definitive date. So if you just want to table it until the next meeting,
Yeah.
Okay.
my assumption would be that we can get through this pretty quickly because the presentation will just be
Yeah.
a brief
Perfect.
summary.
Mhm.
Great. Yeah, then yeah, I would suggest that if a motion's made to table it, to do it just to the
Okay.
next meeting then.
Okay. Well, I'll make the motion. This is Colleen. I move that we table the decision on the request to reduce the residential landscape buffer at 6820 South 9th East to address the following questions and comments. And it's just the whole thing in general
Until our next meeting.
until our next meeting.
I second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Costello and seconded by Commissioner Anderson. Kate, if you would take a roll call vote, please.
Yes. Commissioner Costello,
Yes?
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Snow,
Yes.
and Commissioner Erickson.
Yes.
Great, that passes unanimously. So Jana, we will hopefully see it in January.
Okay,
Awesome, thank you so much.
thank you.
So with that, we will move on to agenda item number 4, which is Midvale City staff requesting a review and update to the Planning Commission bylaws and rules of procedure. And Alex Murphy will be presenting on this one.
Jana, if you could stop your screen share, please.
Mhm.
Okay, I don't have a presentation for you. We have talked about the bylaws the last couple meetings. So the packet has a proposed draft with showing the red lines and then also a clean version showing what they would look like if they were adopted. The only change from the last 2 meetings has been a clarification in the, let's see, section 8, where it talks about amending the bylaws. And I've just added some language that says alternates are included in the vote to amend the bylaws. That's how we've always done it. And really adding it here is just clarifying that that's the case in the future. So unless there's any other particular questions or things you want me to look at or talk about, I'm happy to continue moving on.
All right, then, Garrett, will you speak to this one, please?
Yeah, this one, it doesn't really fall under anything other than because you've passed bylaws and your bylaws allow you to do this. And we're what, almost a year past due, Alex, is that right? For
That is correct. Yep.
So yeah, you guys have, within the limitations of the state and city laws, you have the ability to pass your own bylaws and to decide your own procedures, etc.
Awesome, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Alex regarding these or anything? If not, I would entertain a motion to on these. So.
Shall I make a motion? I move that we adopt the proposed changes to the Midvale City Planning Commission bylaws and rules of the procedure as presented.
Great,
Second.
it's perfect. So it's been moved by Commissioner Costello and seconded by Commissioner Snow to adopt the bylaws as presented. Kate, if you would take a roll call vote, please.
Okay, and just to clarify, I am asking all of the commissioners, correct? Yes. Including the alternates? Okay.
Correct.
Okay, Commissioner Costello.
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Snow?
Yes.
And Commissioner Benson?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I don't think I vote on that, right? Do I vote on?
It says the entire commission.
Okay, so Kate, now you have to ask me to.
Gladly. And Chair Smallwood?
Yes. Okay, so that passes unanimously. So those are now adopted. Congratulations. Good work, Alex. Great job. Awesome. So we will move on to agenda item number 5, which is Midvale City requesting a review and approval of the 2021 Planning Commission meeting dates. And Alex, I think I pretty much summed it up, but take it away.
Yep, you did. So can you guys see my schedule on here? Sorry, one sec. It's behaving funky. Okay, can you guys see my schedule here? All right, so the bylaws give us kind of a general schedule for Planning Commission meetings, which says the first or the second Wednesday of each month is a regular meeting and the fourth Wednesday of each month is a workshop meeting. The change that was just adopted modified the time of the meetings that are held. So instead of starting at 7 as we have for many years, if not all the years, starting in January, we'll meet at 6. So we've put together here a schedule for the commission that documents each of these dates. The only weird months or unusual months are November and December, where we run into conflicts with Christmas and Thanksgiving. So generally speaking, we don't hold a workshop meeting in those months. We can, if circumstances dictate, convert a workshop meeting to a special meeting and treat it like a regular meeting. We can also move times around and add additional meetings that aren't on this schedule by going through that special meeting process if they're necessary. But this is the schedule that we've put together for you to consider, and hopefully you don't see any big conflicts with it, but we can make changes if necessary. Those 2 holidays at the end of the year are really about it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions?
Have none.
I don't have any. So with that, I would just entertain, if unless you guys have any discussion or questions, I would just entertain a motion.
Shall I make a motion?
I was just waiting for Colleen. Yeah.
Okay, I move that we adopt the Midvale City Planning Commission 2021 meeting schedule as presented.
Second.
All right. It's been moved by Commissioner Costello, seconded by Commissioner Snow to adopt the 2021 Planning Commission dates. Can I get a roll call, please?
Yes. We'll start with you. Chair Smallwood.
Yes.
Commissioner Costello.
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Snow.
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson.
Yes.
And Commissioner Benson.
Yes.
Perfect. That passes unanimously. So now we know when we're meeting.
Yep.
If we didn't know before. Okay.
I hope
So
I remember 6 o'clock.
I'm excited. I'm so excited for that. I'm so stinking excited.
Dustin has a hard time.
Awesome.
Well, if it's too problematic, we can amend it later. Jana would like me to point out that her applicant is in the waiting room for that landscape reduction. And
Is she in the building?
well, in the Zoom call waiting room.
In the Zoom building.
Okay.
So Garrett, can we reopen that in this meeting now that it's been tabled for the next meeting?
Yeah, I think whoever made the motion to table can recall
Did I?
their motion.
I need to recall my motion to table.
Was
It
it?
was actually Commissioner Costello.
Oh, good.
Oh, well, then I will
lot
make
of
a
pressure.
motion. I will make a motion to recall my paper.
Wait, hold on.
Sorry.
Not okay?
No. So I was just letting. Okay. Yes. Sorry. She had left, but she joined back again. Sorry. I was just didn't want you guys to waste your time if she wasn't there. But she's back. You can Sorry.
Okay.
Fine.
Perfect. So we have a motion then to recall the motion. Is that what we're doing? Recalling a motion?
Yeah, hold on. Let me pull this up. Let me make sure I know how this works.
I feel emotional about it.
Yeah.
Where we get into the arcane details of how these meetings will function.
Joy. Arcane.
So sorry, the official wording is withdraw a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. I withdraw the motion.
Well, hopefully we didn't cause something crazy by recalling it first and now withdrawing it. So I'm just
I'll second her withdrawal.
Garrett, isn't withdrawing a motion only an option prior to the vote?
I'm pulling up the bylaws right now.
Yeah. Letter F says, after a motion is stated, the motion is in possession of the commission, but may be withdrawn by the author of the motion prior to the vote.
Too late.
So to recall a previous motion for further evaluation, a motion for reconsideration may be made by a commissioner who voted with the majority. And then the motion to reconsider must pass a majority vote.
All right.
There she be, Alex.
So
one of
somebody,
you
yeah,
has to.
There she blows.
Wait, are you guys talking about me?
Maybe.
That's cool. I understand. I get it. I deserve that.
All right.
Oh, we were trying to decide how to fix it so we could hear you.
Yep.
Okay. So then I need somebody that voted in the majority, which I think you all did, to motion to agenda item number.
it's to recall the previous motion. So reconsider the motion to table until the next meeting.
What Alex said.
Does Colleen have to do that?
Anybody?
Well, Garrett, let me ask you this question. So the reconsider language says, let's see, if the former motion is to be amended or made void, the new motion is put to a formal vote. So can we move to reopen that agenda item, and then at the end of hearing Ms. Bishop's comments, move to reconsider that motion to approve instead of table, or however the commission decides to vote? Does that make sense?
So I mean, ultimately the point of all these is to make things function smoothly as possible. I think if we just have it on the record, since these are your own guidelines, this isn't law or anything like that. If you just want to make it clear that you're essentially moving to not have to untable it now rather than tabling it till the next meeting, take the vote as the council or as the commission to hear the item now rather than waiting till the next meeting, and then you can move forward with whatever motion you would like, whether approval, table, or like you normally would at the end of that, if that makes sense. So hopefully that makes more sense, in the sense we just need a motion to essentially cancel the previous motion and hear the item now, and then we'll do a normal motion at the end.
This confuses my poor little brain.
Yeah,
Well,
be very, very careful how you word this, or you will launch the nuclear fleet.
Yes, yes, precisely.
Was it item number 2?
Number 3.
I move that we recall our motion on item 3 to hear the person talk.
Okay. It's been moved by Commissioner Snow to recall and open the item again.
And then seconded by Commissioner Costello, it sounds like.
Yes, it is seconded by Commissioner Costello. Kate, will you take a vote on that?
Yes. Commissioner Erickson.
Yes.
Commissioner Costello.
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Snow.
Yep.
Okay. Well, now we're all here. Now we can hear agenda item number 3.
That, guys.
That's okay. It's all right. We understand. These things happen. We like it.
Well, we all learned something new tonight.
All right. So I think we'll forego unless the commission feels like they need the presentation again. I would just forego that. And if I remember correctly, there were just some questions. The Planning Commission just wanted to make sure that the applicant was here to address any questions or comments that we had.
I will do my best.
Thank you. One of the questions I had, and this, I'm all in favor for this, just on the record, but I'm just curious, was the request for this to allow for more parking, or was it just I guess, what was the reasoning behind the request?
Yeah, it did. It gave more parking lot space, which then also allowed to maximize the building. Otherwise, bringing in the buffer, you bring in the parking lot, you bring in the parking spaces, and then you don't maximize your building space. So.
Okay. That's all I had, really. Any other questions from the commissioners?
And I think mine, this is Candace, was if the adjacent property owner had been asked about what they preferred and if that weighed anything on it. Not that it necessarily does in our minds. It's just nice to kind of have that other opinion.
Yeah, we have not reached out to the adjacent landowner, no.
Okay.
I think,
Robin, are you planning on maybe doing a fence along there to kind of buffer that a bit?
Oh, absolutely. I believe part of the conditions was we would have the masonry wall. It won't just be a flatted fence. It'll be a nice looking, fully obscured wall.
Great. Okay. That's all I had.
The 8-foot wall?
I think the code says minimum of 6.
Oh, minimum 6
Tell us
foot.
if you want it 6, if you want it 8, it's fine either way with us.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if the commission has a preference on either. I don't particularly. So
Yeah,
um,
either one would be.
I don't.
All
I
right, so-
didn't know if there'd been like other information that we didn't have, but that's cool.
great. All right, then if there is no further discussion or questions of the applicant or of Ms. Ward, then I would entertain a motion. Wait, sorry, I'm going back to this. So because we reopened it, it's a whole new thing, right? We don't have to recall the motion.
Yeah, now you just make a
you're
motion.
totally good. Yep.
Okay, perfect, great. Then I'll entertain just a standard run-of-the-mill boring motion.
Can we put it up on the screen? There we go. This is Robin. I move that we adopt the findings and conditions of approval presented in the staff report, approving a reduction to the residential landscape buffer requirements at 6820 South 9th East with conditions.
Great, it's been moved by Miss Anderson. Wow, Miss Anderson. And seconded by Commissioner Snow. If I could get a roll call vote, please.
Yes. Commissioner Costello.
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Snow.
Yes.
And Commissioner Erickson.
Yes.
Great, that passes unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Bishop, for jumping on. We appreciate it, and just continue working with Jana on your site plan.
We will. Thank you for your patience tonight, you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Have a great night, everyone.
You too.
Thank you.
All right, now we will jump to agenda item number 6, which is review and approval of minutes from the November 18th, 2020 meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review those?
Uh-huh. I have.
Any changes, corrections, additions?
Now, I couldn't find any, but has anybody else found any?
Nope. All right, then I would entertain a motion for those then.
Okay, I'll make a motion. I move to approve the minutes of the meeting November the 18th, 2020.
All right, it's been moved by Commissioner Costello
I second.
and seconded by Commissioner Erickson. Kate, if you will take a roll call vote, please.
Yes. Commissioner Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Snow.
Yes.
Commissioner Costello.
Yes.
And Commissioner Erickson.
Yes.
Great, those passed unanimously. And last up are upcoming meetings and projects by our very own Alex Murphy.
Yay!
Jana, if you could stop your screen share, please.
Our very own.
Great. So as you saw on the agenda for next year, this December only has one meeting, so we won't have another meeting this month. Happy holidays, everybody. The first meeting in January, the very first item on that agenda will be to elect a new chair and vice chair for the year. So keep your ideas in mind about who you'd like to nominate to run the meeting. It does have to be a regular member, so feel free to pick on whoever you'd like if you want to go that route. I'm sure Zach felt picked on when he got elected for chair this year. In January, we probably will have 2 regular meetings. We're looking at many applications coming in over the next couple of weeks. We've already got the first meeting agenda almost full, and the deadline for submittal is still 2 weeks out. So we'll probably end up having 2 meetings that month. We do have several text amendments that we're working on right now. So we've got a big subdivision ordinance overhaul I may have mentioned previously. The city council has wanted us to look at master plan developments. That'll probably come either the second meeting in January or the first meeting in February. And we've got some other smaller things that we're doing at the same time. So be ready for those. Keep your thinking caps on as we go through those text amendments. As Garrett mentioned earlier, if you see things in those that you want to see tweaked, we're happy to stretch those out and take additional meetings to have more discussions on them. Or you can come and talk to us in person, and we can, or one-on-one rather, preferably not in person, but to look at those things. Other than that, we don't have a whole lot else new going on. The holidays have kept us pretty busy as we've been, in and out of the office for holiday time and vacation. So we're just trucking right along here in the office, and I assume that'll keep going into next year. Anything you guys want me to follow up on or check out for you or clarify?
I'm good.
I'm good.
Okay. All right.
Cool.
That's all I have for you tonight.
All right. Then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 8:35 p.m. today.
I second
All right.
it.
Perfect. It's been moved